Hi guys, and welcome back to the No Gluten Zone. If you're new here, I create content for people with what I call food issues, and that might be allergies, intolerances, sensitivities, or just autoimmune issues that affect your diet. Today, I'm making a recipe. This is quick, easy, but so flavorful, and I think you're gonna love it. So you definitely have to give this one a try. This is chicken chile verde, and I do it in a slow cooker. I have done it in a pressure cooker, and I'm sure you could just do it on a stove if you wanted to, but my favorite is the slow cooker. Hi guys, I just wanted to interrupt your video for one moment. First, I wanted to say a huge thank you to all the people who did subscribe and helped me meet my goal of 500 subscribers. And now I'm onward in my journey and hoping to get more subscribers. So if you're viewing this and you're not subscribed, I would so appreciate if you would consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give me a thumbs down. That way I know how to plan for future videos. Thank you so much. I so appreciate each and every one of my viewers and subscribers out there. Now back to your video. So I have 3 chicken breasts here. I have rinsed them and dried them, and I'm going to put them in the slow cooker. I have seen online that rinsing your meat is a really hot topic for a lot of reasons, but I will say that I will continue to rinse my meat because it does definitely rinse off histamine. And histamine builds up in things the longer they sit. And I have met people who the only way they could eat chicken was to go to a farmer's market where they had butchered the chickens that morning because they were that fresh and they could eat those chickens. But chicken in a store has been sitting too long and it had too much histamine, and even washing it off was not enough for them. So I do have some issues clearing histamine in my body, not as severe as those people, but I do always rinse my meat, and I am cautious of how long things have been sitting in the refrigerator. So we're gonna place the chicken breast. I do prefer breast for this recipe. I have done it with thighs, and if I'm making a larger amount, I like to actually do 1 pack of breast and 1 pack of thighs. That works really well too. But thighs by themselves in this recipe get a little stringy and you kind of lose the chunkiness of the chicken texture. I'm gonna wash my hands and I'll be right back. Okay, if you can see them in there, they are in a single layer. If you were doing a larger batch, you might have to put them on top of each other, or if they're really big. I used to buy the Hatch green enchilada sauce in the cans, and I bought that for years and I loved it. It is really good. If you can tolerate it, you can use it in this recipe. But I started having issues with it, and I realized it had cornstarch in it, and in the last few years, have developed some issues with corn. They're not major. I can get by with a lot of things, but for some reason, cornstarch itself is the most problematic thing. So I had to stop buying it. And I ended up turning to Siete brand enchilada sauce. It is really clean, really good ingredients, and it has always been gluten-free when I buy it. The big difference between this and the Hatch is that this is very thin. There's no starch in there. It's the starch, the cornstarch in Hatch gives it this really velvety, smooth thickness to it. And I actually do like that texture. So you can use this as is, or you can use the Hatch, but I'm going to show you what I do with this to get it similar to the Hatch brand. I like to pour it into a bowl. Okay, so I typically use potato starch for this, but you could use arrowroot, you could use tapioca starch. If you don't have a problem with cornstarch, you could totally use cornstarch here. And you could probably use a gluten-free flour, like a brown rice flour. I imagine that would work too, but I typically use potato starch. I know from making this in the past that I like about 4 tablespoons of starch per jar of enchilada sauce. So I'm going to add 1 tablespoon at a time and then whisk it into the sauce. Here's 1 tablespoon. And I just have a whisk, and I'm just going to whisk it in and make sure there's no clumps. 2nd tablespoon. And again, I'm going to whisk it in. I can already see the texture changing, the color changing, it's getting creamier. 3rd tablespoon. And my last 4th tablespoon. So it's changing from like a really clear, almost watery texture into this much thicker, opaque, I think is the word, where you can't really see through it as much. And it's just very creamy. So you want to shake all those little chilies out of the whisk before you toss it into the sink. Okay, so the 4 tablespoons of potato starch are whisked into the enchilada sauce, and I'm just going to pour it over these chicken breasts. This next step is totally optional. I just really like the added flavor and texture that it gives. This is Hatch, but there's no cornstarch here. But it's Hatch chopped green chilies. And I buy the mild because even though I love spice, my bladder can't handle it because I have interstitial cystitis. So yes, I buy the mild, and I will buy chopped or diced, whatever they happen to have. And I just sprinkle these over. Okay, I'm just going to put the lid on. I'm going to turn it on. I typically do this on low, 6 to 8-ish hours. So I'm going to have this cooking, and in 6 to 8-ish hours, when it's done, I will come back and show you the final step. Hi guys, and welcome back. Our chicken's all done, and I'm going to show you the final step. So I like to use a wooden spatula. You can use a regular spatula, like a metal spatula. Just make sure you're not scratching the inside of your crock pot when you do that. But you're just going to take it and you're going to press down on the chicken. Just move it around, pressing down on your chicken, and your chicken's going to fall apart. And it's going to fall apart into shreds. And then I'm going to store it in this container, and you can see there's nice big chunky shreds of chicken with the green Chile Verde sauce. The sauce is nice and thick, and it coats the chicken really well because I added that potato starch. And there you have it. I hope you try this recipe. Leave me a comment below if you do and what you thought of it.